So let's go forward. What do you want in the next mayor of New Orleans? You know, I've asked this question 3 times on WBOK, first on the Good Morning Show, then on the Front Porch, and I also asked this question on the Reality Check. Now, to be clear, I do not have a vote. I live outside of New Orleans, and to be even more clear, I do not have a candidate in mind. So it's important to note that the question I asked is, what do you want in the next mayor of New Orleans, not who? And here's why. When we think too much about who, we start to get into personality. And New Orleans is a personality city. That's not a bad thing. Personality often wins the day here. You walk into a room, you present your big personality in New Orleans, and you are seen as important. But if you're quiet, meaning you don't really show your personality in New Orleans, people often want to know why. They may even deem you as untrustworthy. You see, there's some difficulty with getting wrapped up in personality. On one hand, personality is good in New Orleans because we do live out loud, so it makes us feel comfortable. We feel like we know who someone is when they show us their personality. The disadvantage, however, is that the person with the personality, well, they can kind of get away with a little flim-flam. It can be used as a distraction from their inability to conduct sound and maybe even ethical business. Of course, this is not always the case with people, but it can definitely be the case. And this is my opinion, that our preoccupation with personality guides us to make emotional decisions, not necessarily logical decisions. So this is why I insist that the citizens of New Orleans focus on what you want. Focus on things like proof of dependability, proof of trustworthiness, proof of knowledge of issues and policies in your next mayor. Think about the ability to hold the people in City Hall accountable for getting the job done while also treating them with dignity and respect, because they're our family too. And maybe we could think about a consensus builder, someone who can build consensus from neighborhood to neighborhood and build consensus with the state of Louisiana. Let's think about a leader with a strong sense of personal leadership, someone who is going to hold themselves accountable, and then also responsiveness to citizens and someone who has business savvy. But the question is this: if you think about those qualities and other qualities that you were looking for, what do you want to prioritize? And then also, this is probably the more difficult one, what are you willing to sacrifice? Because honestly, we can't have it all. There's going to be something missing from that recipe. With that being said, another question that I have for you is, what conversations are you having with your neighbors and your friends and your, well, maybe coworkers about what you're looking for in the next mayor of New Orleans? Here's a big question. Which of your biases could prevent you from casting a reasonable vote for the next mayor of New Orleans? And for me, this is probably the most important thing to think about. And that is, leadership is many things. It's a responsibility. It's a process. It is something that has to get done. But at the end of the day, whether we like it or not, or realize it or not, leadership is not a popularity contest. And that's the way forward.